The OTAs feel different this year. Another thing that feels different, Kyler Murray deserving more credit. Why? I'll explain. Let's discuss.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cardinals, Alex Clancy here. Follow me on Twitter at Clancy's Corner _ Follow the podcast at Locked On AZ Cards. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast, and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Been hosting this podcast since 2017 now, I think going on my 8th season. Been in sports radio in Phoenix since 2011. So thank you for being a part of this journey with me. There are a lot of things that will be discussed over the next couple months that, as I alluded to last year for the majority of the time, very future pacing. We don't know what all this is going to look like. We don't know what rookies you can trust yet. We don't know what veterans are going to level up their game to help the rookies inevitably raise the floor of the talent level for the Arizona Cardinals. Where it starts is OTAs. And OTAs are upon us. And I brought in one of my favorites here to discuss it with me. This dude, Donnie Druin, at Donnie Druin on Twitter. Sports Illustrated does a great job.
Appreciate that. I've been called a lot worse than a favorite, by the way, so I really appreciate that.
Well, you got, dude. No problem. I think we can say what I do after the second time somebody's on. I call him friend of the show. So now you're in the friend of the show circle.
Let's go.
So listen, let's get right into it here. So OTAs over the last 5, 6, 7 seasons were a lot of the same. It was a lot of, we don't know what this is going to look like, with kind of an eerie undertone to it. Like, we have no idea what roster Steve Keim has built, and if these players, especially rookies, are going to be able to be thrust into action and be able to perform without the necessary veteran leadership and help that a lot of rookies need. It feels different this year. You've been at OTAs the last couple of days. Tell me if that's correct or incorrect, and why.
It does feel different, and I would akin it to walking into like a blockbuster movie. Like, you know there's some of your favorite people in it. You don't know what the movie's going to look like, but damn, you're excited, you know. And I think it feels different also because last year we were at this point, we didn't know what the total outcome was going to be. We didn't know what the process was going to be. We didn't know what chess pieces were going to be on what side of the board. And now that the Cardinals have a full year under their belt, basically the same entire coaching staff, the same front office, they're coming off a 4-13 season, but damn, it feels like they played a lot better than that. They know that the results can be there. They know that what they did can work. Obviously, Gannon said that they made a little bit of tweaks here and there just to the day-to-day outcome. But overall, I think there's a sense of, hey, you know what? We saw a lot of what worked last year. We know what we're doing. You know, there's not a whole lot of not unknown, because there certainly is, especially with the 12 rookies, but just a lot of confidence that, hey, like, this ship is going in the right direction. We just need to continue building on this foundation brick by brick. And I think that's exactly what they've been doing at OTAs.
Yeah, it seems like it. I'm going to discuss the Kyler Murray effect and what that means, why he's not getting more credit where he deserves it in one specific way. Paris Johnson Jr., surprise, taking the first snaps at left tackle. I never understood the reports that he was going to stay at right tackle when his whole career was predicated upon laying on the left side, the majority of it. We'll discuss those two topics as we roll on here the next two segments. OTAs, Will Hernandez, I believe it was, said something to the effect, and you were sitting in the room, that there's nothing voluntary about this. Yeah. Voluntary minicamp, voluntary this, voluntary that. And I think that that's something that is a far cry from Rodney Hudson going MIA during mandatory camp a couple years ago. This is something that, as you mentioned, there's a lot of unknowns with rookie and everything, as you know, as there should be. The NFL is chaos, and this seems like the most controlled chaos we've seen from an Arizona Cardinals team, with a leader ahead of the snake who has things under control. He's like, listen, this is what it's going to be. We're going to figure it out. We're going to try things in different spots, and we'll find the best fit for this team. Jonathan Gannon, no doubt about it, leader of this team, very easygoing. I mean, is that, as far as I can see, you know, I've seen him in person a couple times speak and everything, but overall, leader, head of the snake, and everything is going in one direction?
No, 100%. And Will was not the only person to highlight that. It was voluntary, but everybody in that building knows that they need to be there in order to not be a 4-win team. I think Yadi Froholt said, look, if you have guys like Kyler Murray, if you have guys like James Conner and Budda Baker, showing up and putting in work every single day, I for sure need to be here. That is a starting offensive lineman for the Cardinals who started last year, certainly has a spot in the starting five cemented. And even like Michael Carter, I believe, just did a radio appearance where he said he gets to the facility 2 hours earlier than everybody else, and Kyler's already in there halfway through the workout. He said, I don't even know if Kyler leaves the facility. It is certainly not voluntary. Everybody feels like it's mandatory, but they feel like it's mandatory, Alex, because they know if they can buy in together, they know they can keep this thing moving in the right direction. And there's just a sense of, I don't want to say like belief, but almost as if they know the proof is in the pudding if they have the spoon in their hand.
Yeah, and that's a fascinating part about this because, it's something that while it seems very basic and very well, obviously that's what teams are supposed to do. Understanding the guys of the Arizona Cardinals organization over the last 10 years, simple things are how you do everything. The small things are how you do everything. I always go back to 2021, week 1 against Tennessee. The Cardinals beat them by 100, and they were still doing the little things wrong under Cliff Kingsbury. And it came out after they, 7-0, 10-2, and they faltered towards the end of that season and then into 2022. So the way they do the little things is so important to prove to themselves, to fans, to everybody else that, listen, it's different now. And it's different now is such a lazy sentence to say, because obviously it is. Head coach, second year, a lot of things to build on from last year, rookies, everything. It seems like, and I struggle with this sometimes where I'm like, I got to say it differently. Because it's different. Obviously it's different, you dummy. But it's how things are different and how their smiles are different at camp. It feels like everybody wants to be there and everybody knows that something is brewing here that could be very special. Am I glamorizing that, or is that right?
No, not at all. And I think it all starts with what you said, the head of the snake. Every single time Jonathan Gannon walks into the media room, and you can ask our good friend Tyler Drake about this, every single time he walks in, even dating back to last year, win or loss, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the biggest energy I've ever seen. Just, hey, how's it going? Like upbeat, up tempo, ready to go. It always has the energy. And you talk to people top to bottom in that facility that are there every single day. And he's the exact same guy. And I think that's a really big thing for the players too, knowing that win or loss, no matter if I mess up, no matter if I do great, I am getting the same out of my head coach as I would for anybody else. And I do want to go back to players we previously highlighted, James Conner and Budda Baker. Both are heading into the final year of their contract. They could have easily said, hey, I'm doing my own thing. I don't really know what the future holds. I want to make sure my future is secure. Both of them showed up. Nearly everybody is there. And I think, like you said, it's different. And I know it's kind of lazy to say that, but it's different.
Yeah. And, I'll have you on, I'm sure, a handful of times more this offseason. Budda Baker and James Conner need contract extensions. Can we please, look at what they've done. Look at how loyal they've been. James Conner was the leader of that team when Budda Baker was out. Budda Baker and James Conner shared that until Kyler Murray came back. They've been the most important players on opposing sides of the field pretty much over the last 3 or 4 years. James Conner's been the most important offensive player not named Kyler Murray. So why would you just, it's 29, that's the rule, let him go. If he wants to take, $7 million guaranteed over 2 or 3 years and you keep him here and he plays that LeGarrette Blount role that I've been just yearning for, I don't understand why they'd ever play wearing another uniform. Alex Clancy, Locked on Cardinals. Donnie Druin, Sports Illustrated, joins me today. The Kyler Murray effect. He should be getting more credit. Why? That's a tease. I'll discuss it next. Locked on Cardinals, your team every day. This episode of Locked on Cardinals is brought to you by Yahoo Finance. Wouldn't it be great if you could see all your investment and retirement accounts in one place? Well, with Yahoo Finance, you can consolidate your views from multiple accounts into one hub and access the expert analysis you need to tend to your entire portfolio with confidence. For more than 25 years, Yahoo Finance has been the brand behind every great investor. Whether you're a seasoned investor or you're looking for that extra guidance, Yahoo Finance gives you all the tools and data you need in one place. They're a #1 finance destination, producing a holistic look at financial news cycles, including breaking news, original editorial perspective, analysis ratings, independent research, customizable charts, and so much more. Securely link your brokerage account For a unified view of your wealth, including 401k and other investments, a comprehensive perspective is what sets apart great investors, and it's how Yahoo Finance ensures you have the insight to look at your wealth in its entirety. With a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial success. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com, the number one financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. Alex Lancey, Locked On Cardinals. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen, free wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube. Go to the YouTube channel, search Locked On Arizona Cardinals, hit that subscribe button, man. Turn notifications on. Everydayers, if you've been here since 2017, thank you. If this is your first listen, maybe make tomorrow your second listen. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all the shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Woo! Donnie. Okay. OTAs, it's fun. OTAs, it's rebirth. It's a new relationship into the 2024 season. Okay. And one thing that at this point, I don't know if it's able to be questioned, since Michael Bidwell made the decision to remove his close friend from post and Steve Keim, probably 5 years too late, and fire Cliff Kingsbury, regardless of the ongoing lawsuits and how he treats employees. This is a football podcast. I'm holding it to just this. He has done everything correctly. He hired the right GM. He hired the right head coach. He hired the right coordinators, and he's letting them do their job. Yeah. Would you agree with that before moving on? Like, Michael Bidwell has turned over that new leaf.
I believe so. I think the last time he had major input was the uniform revealing, but obviously the owner's going to be in that. I don't know. Obviously, he's in the war room whenever they draft, and I'm sure he still like sits in the meetings. And Gannon was asked about it, the presence of Michael Bidwell, I believe, at the combine, and he was like, "I love it." He's like, "I love the partnership from owner to GM to head coach, because all three of us need to be on the same page if we're going to win." I think Bidwell's involved for sure. By no means is he like a Jerry Jones.
No. Well, that's what a leader's supposed to do. Hire the right people and move the hell back.
Yeah.
Let them do their job. Let them earn their paycheck for what they've done. And while it is, and I use the term future pacing a lot, like, so far, so good. I wish I could just have t-shirts printed that say so far, so good, because that's what we know about this team. Monty Oswald, so far, so good. Jonathan Gannon, so far, so good. The rookies from last year, so far, so good. The 2024 draft, so far, so good. You know, like that's where we're at, and so much better than taking a step back, shooting yourself in the foot, making, poor trades or drafting positions that aren't of need, but whatever was dealt with recently, in years past. Now with that, Michael Bidwell, I see the same thing in Kyler Murray. Okay, Kyler Murray, ever since tearing his ACL, that was it. And it wasn't like his football mortality was put into play. It wasn't anything like that. Once Jonathan Gannon dapped him up when he was in the weight room, the first time he went to the facility, I feel like that started something in Kyler Murray that changed the trajectory of him forever, where he knew then that he couldn't just show up and be the best player on the field like he did his entire life. And we saw it through social media last year, which I don't usually pay a lot of attention to. And I think we talked about this last time you were on. Like, what Kyler Murray has shown is introspection into his very introverted life, which is a big 0-1 step for him. And sure, on the field, he's there. He's with teammates. They're going to games. They're doing all that stuff. This is not the player they drafted. This is an adult, adapted version of the player they drafted. What are you seeing from him so far, just over your experience since he came back, the OTAs, everything like that? What are you seeing from him that's making that statement true?
Yeah, I have not been on the Cardinals beat for too long. I joined right after the 2021 season.
Yeah.
So I was able to be there pre and post Kyler Murray injury. I think we all saw the tension between Kyler and Cliff. I know Cliff is the reason, maybe not the reason, but Cliff was a big proponent in trying to get Kyler Murray in a Cardinals uniform. And I think over time, the two just weren't seeing each other. I think that moment where he went down Monday Night Football against the New England Patriots really kind of, I don't want to say grounded him, but really put that perspective of, hey, man, like, this is an opportunity for a fresh reset. I think the coaching fire hit that reset. And like you hear it all the time, coach talk, GM talk, he's our guy. They said Josh Rosen's our guy, and then months later drafted Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
Everybody says it, but watching Jonathan Gannon, watching Monty Ossenfort repeatedly, they're not speaking it into existence. It simply a fact. They love Kyler Murray. They believe in Kyler Murray, and I think that is so pivotal for Kyler Murray to be able to walk into a building, to walk into a facility, knowing this is my football team. I am a leader. I'm wanted. I am respected here. It's not a coincidence, Alex, that after the Keim and the Cliff regime is gone, those negative reports about Murray stopped. I have not seen one negative report about Kyler Murray since Cliff Kingsbury and Steve Keim were gone. I do not think that's a coincidence. I think the injury definitely helped kind of mold that matured leadership role that Kyler Murray needed. And it went from teammates such as Kelvin Beachum going on radio and saying, hey, like, he needs to grow up, basically, is what Kelvin said. Now you don't hear that. You hear nothing about that. He's leading by example. I don't think Kyler's a big rah, rally the team up before everything, but he's putting in the time on and off the field. He's really trying to build that team camaraderie. And at the end of the day, like, for example, we talked to Zay Jones. Zay Jones has been here maybe a week. Zay Jones, on numerous questions, said Kyler Murray, the leader, first and foremost, a football player, obviously, but the leader Kyler Murray is, stood out the biggest to Zay Jones on his first impression from him.
Yeah, that's crazy. And coming from a guy who was also had a lot of question marks around him, Trevor Lawrence, for Zay Jones to come over here and have that confidence in Kyler Murray right out the gate. I mean, it shows like he should just get more credit than he's getting. And maybe that this is the penance he's paying for the first couple of years where he was lost. He didn't have any guidance. He was in a dysfunctional and poisonous kind of ecosystem from the front office and head coach. And like, we'll pivot here to Paris Johnson Jr. in a second, but Kyler Murray is the most important player and Jonathan Gannon's the head coach. There is a clear distinction between the two now. Yes, we love Kyler Murray. He's our guy and he's an employee of us. So we will be coaching him, which is what it should be. Unless you're Tom Brady was still getting yelled at by Bill Belichick. Like Cliff Kingsbury was giving fruit trays out and not coaching. And I think that and this isn't a knock on Cliff. It's just what it was. It's factual. Yeah. And, now it's like, yeah, you know what? Jonathan Gannon is the head coach and he answers questions. He does things the right way. He leads this team, and Kyler Murray is the most important employee the Cardinals have, but he's still a player. And he needs to be coached. And I think that's the biggest thing that's helped him so much. And sure, the lines will bleed mid-game and things like that, but sure, he needs structure, and he's never had that. So I think that's very, very interesting insight. Donnie Druin, Sports Illustrated, joining me here, Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Paris Johnson Jr., surprise, surprise, takes first reps at left tackle. What does it mean? Will it stick? Discuss it next. Locked On Cardinals, your team every day. Alex Clancy here. Go to the YouTube channel, man. Search Locked On Arizona Cardinals. Hit that subscribe button. Turn notifications on. Oh, so coming this week, I think I'll be able to make an announcement, or Monday, where you'll be able to interact with me more personally. I'm not going to be doing, Kim Kardashian drop-ins at clubs. So I'm sorry. That's not – Donnie's a big clubber.
I am.
That's what he does. Yeah. Look at him. He looks like he, just got – no, I'm only kidding. But, yeah, I mean, you're going to have a chance to interact with me a lot more closely. It's going to be very fun. It's going to be a nice wrinkle as we pivot here to my 8th season. Unbelievable here with Locked On. Never been more gracious. Every day it's better and better. So every day, thank you so much for your constant support. Paris Johnson Jr., natural left tackle, was drafted at 6 overall. Played right tackle because DJ Humphries was still here. DJ Humphries is gone. His number is now being worn by another rookie. And the question is, when the Cardinals sign Jonah Williams, who could play both tackle positions as well, who would play which? And when I heard that question, it's like, oh, sweet. They win no matter what. Options. Sweet. The Cardinals have options. Two of the most important positions on their roster. Oh, they've got a swing tackle who could play both also, and veteran Kelvin Beachum. The Cardinals are set. It makes sense to me, Donnie Druin of Sports Illustrated, that Paris Johnson would get the first cracks and not Wally Pip Jonah Williams, but actually get first cracks and be like, oh yeah, this is good enough. Jonah, you're going to play the right side. Do you see that as the case, or is Jonathan Gannon really going to experiment this and kind of see what they've got through this offseason, then, make their final depth chart decisions when they make it?
I really had no idea what they were going to do. I mean, I talked with Jonah. I talked with Paris. I remember talking to Paris at the Marvin Harrison Jr. press conference, and I'm like, hey, man, like, do you know what side you're playing? And he's like, no. And I'm like, come on. We're almost to OTAs and you don't know what we're playing. He's like, I really don't. It could have gone either way. Obviously, you pointed out he's a natural left tackle. He's played there basically his entire career, except for 1 year at Ohio State where he played at right guard. But I think last year the Cardinals just wanted him to get that experience at tackle. Obviously, I think right tackle is maybe not just as important as left tackle, but you're seeing a lot of quality edge rushers on that side of the ball, and obviously need to keep your quarterback upright. Jonah Williams requested a trade last year from Cincinnati after the Bengals acquired Orlando Brown. So I'm like, okay, does Jonah want to play left tackle? Because they signed a left tackle and they moved him to the right, and he didn't want to be there. So I think certainly things help whenever you get signed to a 2-year, $30 million deal. I'll play right tackle if you're giving me that money. But Jonah showed he could play on the right side, and I think the Cardinals feel like Paris Johnson's best position is at left tackle. And I think maybe Paris feels a little bit more quote unquote natural there. I think maybe he has a higher upside there, but I feel like all signs maybe pointed to Paris moving back to left tackle, but they certainly have options. And it sounded like Jonathan Gannon was sort of hedging his bets whenever talking to us, saying that he has power to veto that and swap that. So, like you said, both can play either or. It just depends on how they kind of fit in that puzzle.
Well, yeah. And, there's a chance that Jonah Williams may be a better left tackle than Paris Johnson is going into his second year. A seasoned vet who maybe, if Paris Johnson plays on the right side for another year, and maybe, he'll be the backup left tackle, I would assume, ahead of Kelvin Beachum. And if Jonah Williams goes down, he slides over. But the thing is, they win. It doesn't matter. They've got guys. And it's not like, well, they used the 6th overall pick on a right tackle. If he's an all-pro tackle, who cares?
Right.
If he's a punter, well, that's a bad example. But if it doesn't matter where on the offensive line Paris Johnson Jr. plays, if he performs 30% better than he did last year going into his second year, which seems natural, against 10 or 12 of the toughest fronts he faced, in the NFL last year that he faced. And you're right. Pass rushers don't just line up on one. This isn't DeAndre Hopkins and Cliff Kingsbury's offense. They're all over that line, and they target. Of course, they're going to target a rookie on the opposing side, even if their natural side is the other side to pass rush. So that was just an interesting thing for me. I do want to ask about, Marvin Harrison Jr., just everything that we've seen from him. He just looks it looks like Madden on easy. It looks like he's gliding like a duck across, water, and it's just like the most beautiful thing to watch. Is that what it looks like in person so far?
Yeah, no. I know the nickname is Maserati Marv, but it's like a Rolls Royce. It's just
not on Locked On Cardinals. Ain't never going to hear that on Locked On Cardinals. I will never call him. It's lazy. It's late. Stop it. Okay, anyways, as you were.
No, you're good. He gets that nickname, but for me, it's a Rolls Royce, man. It's just like you the quality you're getting, and it's just smooth, man. Like he really does look like he's the son of a Hall of Fame receiver.
I mean, it's just something where when you start to see pen to paper, as it is, with them being at voluntary OTAs and them saying it's not voluntary, and Will Hernandez, Jalti Frold being upset that he's not the strongest player on the team anymore. And all of these clips that are coming out are guys that look like they're having fun being Arizona Cardinals. Yeah. And while, again, it seems like, well, that's a green ribbon. They're playing in the NFL. They're making millions of dollars. You know how many unhappy people? Rodney Hudson flat out said, I ain't coming. They had to give him more money, said, okay. And then he pretty much played 15 minutes and didn't come back. This isn't that. Terrell Suggs went to ASU and he played for 2 seconds and then they cut him after giving him $7 million. This isn't your grandparents' Arizona Cardinals. And we're starting to see the actual proof of concept in front of you instead of just using it as an abstract like I did all year last year. It starts the little things you do predicate how you do the big things. And it's something that it's so much more fun. It's so much more fun to watch it like this instead of like, oh, when's Budda Baker going to be here? Oh, DeAndre Hopkins. Oh, what is this? What is this? What is this? It's like everybody's in. Everybody's in.
Nope, everybody's in. I do want to touch on the point where you say the little things matter. And having covered Cliff Kingsbury, and like this is no shot at him, but more so kind of a praise for Jonathan Gannon. Zaven Collins last year, I'm sure you remember this. Zaven had told us that he got fined for eating a snack in a meeting, where under Cliff, that was encouraged. Like you said, he was handing out fruit cups left and right, like during meetings and whatnot. I don't know if that's actually true, but just for the sake of conversation.
Yeah.
The fact that Gannon was like, look, you eat on your own time. We're in a meeting. We're here to get better. If you're worried about snacking, you're in the wrong business. Get out of the room. Here's $10,000. Give it to a charity. Don't do this again. And I think that is the moment where I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, this is really different. People say it's different, but there are talkers and there are doers, and Jonathan Gannon is a doer.
Look at what happened to Philly. That is not a coincidence. Their heart was ripped out of their team's chest when Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon left. That's it.
Yep.
Look at what's happened to them. Nick Sirianni is a lot closer to Cliff Kingsbury than he is to Jonathan Gannon, and it was proven last year. And when the Cardinals are playing hard, and the Cardinals, like Donnie, honestly, they should have won. They should have won 7 games. They could have won 8. Like they should have beat Seattle. They probably should have beat Washington when in week 1. They should have beat the Giants when they were up 100 points at halftime. That's 3. That's 7 wins right there. A couple balls bounced the other way. They could have beat Houston. Like this is something that if they do it again and they actually get to that win total, it would be a massive win. Now, I'm going to ask you this before we get out of here. And this is what I didn't, this is kind of what I do. And I just came up with this, and this is what we're going to talk about for 2 minutes. Cardinals over under is 6.5. Okay. They've got an absolutely, in my opinion, just murderer's row schedule. But if they get to 7 or 8 wins, he won't. But Jonathan Gannon should get looks for coach of the
he should be talking about
100% your win total. Can you explain to people how big it is to be able to go from 4 to 8 wins in one offseason in 1 year?
I mean, to double your win total like that. I mean, not how many NFL teams on the year-to-year basis can say they've doubled their win total, whether that's 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. I mean, it's just like stuff like that does not happen overnight. But I think the Cardinals did a good job positioning themselves to maybe rebuild faster than many had hoped or anticipated. I'm sure it helps whenever you see the Houston Texans, where they were hoping to Jesus that they would finish with a top 5 pick, and they almost went to the Super Bowl. I think that was a very good reflection of, hey, maybe rebuilds don't need to take 5 years. Maybe if we put the right pieces on the chessboard, this can go a little bit quicker. It can go a little bit sooner. I thought the Cardinals were very smart with their money in free agency. They didn't go for the big fish. They plugged holes, and then they added talent through the draft. I mean, 12 picks, which I think was a record for the most since 1992. It feels very good being in Arizona, watching people who know what they're doing run a football team. And I just think that's something Cardinals fans haven't been able to see in quite a long time.
Awesome stuff. Where can people find you, Donnie?
Yeah, at Donnie Druin on Twitter, or X, or whatever the cool kids call it. And si.com/NFL/Cardinals.
Boom. Alex Nancy, Locked On Cardinals. Remember, without you, there is no me. I'll talk to you tomorrow.